put that on. Yep. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have some new commissioners tonight. Do a roll call first. Amelia Visquet.
Here.
Brian Averbeck.
Here.
Joseph Lavelli. Here. Bernardo.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
And Thomas. Here. All right, we have a full commission. I'd like to welcome you both to our new commission members. Welcome to the circus. Anyways, next up, I would like to take a moment of silence for our dear friend Toby Cassidy, Robert Cassidy. He passed away recently, and if you would join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor to any of the commissioners that were close or have some stories to share of Toby.
If you don't mind, I would like to just begin with that. I've been on the commission since, I believe, 2020, 2019, sometime around that time. And Toby was very welcoming. He was a very good guy. And he was one of those people, for those that didn't know him, but for those that did know him, that if you weren't feeling well or you had something going on in your life that was not the best, he would be the one that would come up to you and ask how you were doing, how you were feeling. And during my time, about a couple of years ago, I had major back surgery, and he had one prior when he was younger, and he would just ask me all the time, how you feeling, and just constantly, was there for me to have that conversation. So say rest in peace to him. And ever since he's passed, the outpouring of things on Facebook, of stories of just what a good guy he is, it's things that we already knew as a commission, but it's just really good. It's gonna suck to not have him here on the commission anymore. He was just a really, really good person that you could trust and talk to, and yeah, there's not much more I can say other than that. He will be missed.
Certainly. I will never forget our baseball talks and weather chit-chat as we sat there at site visits, but truly will be missed. Rest in peace. Okay, next up, review and approval of the meeting minutes. Any changes or additions?
Looks good. Make a motion to approve it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Next up is a continuation of a notice of intent, DEP file number 0610822, the MWRA.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Doyle-Breen from AECom. And also with me tonight, we have Jim Sullivan, also from AECom, the project manager for this project, and Peter Grasso. Oh, there you are. You moved. You confused me, from MWRA. So we're here again in front of you tonight. I think this is our third or fourth meeting. So we're here for the Section 56 pipeline to be installed by HDD under the Saugus River. So we've had a site visit. We've had many presentations. We were here a month ago, and we couldn't ask that the hearing be closed because we were waiting for NHESP's decision. And so that did come, I think 2 days after our last meeting on September 6th. And so we've submitted that letter. I think, I don't know if Lorena got it separately, but I know we emailed it into Lorena saying or Lorena, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, from NHSP saying that they had determined that there would not be an adverse effect to the endangered species habitat. So with that, we don't have any other information to present, and so we'd ask that the hearing be closed and the commission would vote to issue an order of conditions.
Okay, thank you very much. Hearing that, good news, and thank you for providing that to us. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions from the commissioners, if you have any remaining questions.
Well, I just say that you've, returning champion, been here many times, kind of going over everything. So just want to say thank you for having to keep coming back over and over again. But I think that in the previous times you've been here, we've had opposition from people that have come forward and they've asked questions, and you've been kind enough to be able to, at that moment, just right on the spot, and also follow-up meetings, answer a lot of those questions extremely in depth. So I won't waste any more time going over with those questions, since I think that you've answered them all pretty well.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else?
I just have a question. I think during the first meeting, I think the plan was the type of device would be at one end and the pipe would go under, right? I think that was at the beginning. But then we changed the location because is that correct? Then we move it, or that's still the plan? I just want to make sure.
Yep, I don't think the plan has changed
Oh,
since
okay,
we
that's
first came in
Okay.
front of you,
Okay,
yeah.
just want to make
Yep.
sure. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll open it up to the audience if they have any questions.
Good evening. Councilor Angela Garino, Sawaya, Ward 5. Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the MWRA just one question. I would like to ask you guys to appoint an independent oversight company to report directly to the Conservation Commission of any issues, discrepancies, or concerns that may occur during the installation process, and that it also be reported back to the ward counselor, which is me.
It's not something that I can impose. That would be up to the MWRA to make that determination.
Pete Grasso, MWRA. I mean, that's not something we typically do in a contract. I mean, most of the time, we get the order of conditions from you, and the contractor follows them, and then you guys come out. I don't know whether you do internal inspections to make sure we're following the order of conditions.
Well, we would typically follow up to make sure with a certificate of compliance to close out the process, and that would be our follow-up. But there are, at some points, periodic inspections, inspection logbook, things of that nature. At our discretion, we would certainly reach out and make sure that you're able to receive. We don't want to come at a hectic time during the projects. We don't want you to be halfway under pulling that horizontal pipe, and you can't meet with us. But there would be certainly times that we would reach out. But to your points, we would be also reaching out to them to make sure that they are following through with their promise to us in this notice of intent and the order of conditions set upon. So with that said, I would like to call for a motion to approve this notice of intent for this work.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a point of information while we have this gentleman up?
Absolutely.
Hi.
Hi.
Other than us, what other agencies in the city, building department, sewer department, are you in dialogue with, or will have some kind of interaction within the city?
So I recently sent our latest design plans to the city engineer, Nick Rystrom, also with the new DPW super, which I believe is Chris Cimarella. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I've been in touch with them, waiting for comments back from them on. I believe there's a traffic commission that we'll have to be in touch with and coordinate with them, so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you.
that. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the notice of intent for this installation of a secondary line.
I'll make a motion to approve the NOI for the secondary, say that one more time, secondary line, yep.
Water line, water main.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And can I just ask, how will that order come to us? Will you email it, or do you prefer by mail or picking it up in person? Mail would be great. Yeah, the original would be great, yeah.
Yep, we'll get a copy of that to you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time. Excellent. Next up is, sorry, one second.
I just need the HDMI cord to present.
Where is that? Is that under? Technical difficulties. Maybe underneath. Yeah, it's definitely not up here. I don't see it. It's probably under the desk, Linda. Yep. That should be it. One second. Sorry about that, folks. Do you have the cord?
I think it's underneath that one. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Excellent. I think we're back on track. Okay. Next up is a continuation of notice of intent, DEP file number 0610826. This is for 23 Putnam Road. Any representatives for that here?
Hi, good evening. My name is Francisco. It's 29 Putnam Road. So the guy who's gonna do the job is not here right now. I don't know if you got all the papers.
We did.
don't know.
I got a copy of it, and I'm not sure if any of the other commissioners were able to view what they presented. This is basically an extension of your driveway. They were also including a French drain around the extension, and then a resurfacing of the adjacent driveway with another French drain along that as well to capture any other runoff from their property. About sums it up. They didn't have drawings or any kind of site schematic for the project in question, which they did provide, and I was curious if any of you had any questions about the project.
Well, I was there with you for the site visit for this one, so I was able to see it. So on the one on the left side, not the main driveway, the one on the side, did you decide exactly what you're using for the material to do it? Because I know at the time you were thinking about how you were going to do it exactly.
What, the other side?
On not the main driveway, but the one on to the left,
The left, I mean, the next to the house or the other one?
the other one.
No, your supplementary driveway, the one
The one
that's
that's
down a
repaving?
little bit further, yes.
I mean, the thing that you say before doing that, like the drain on that side.
Yep, and then
rep-
resurfacing.
Yeah, that's the only thing you're gonna do on that side.
Same what they have in place at,
And the other
Present
one
time.
is
Okay.
just small, the stain thing
Mm-hmm.
goes a little bit more.
yep.
Mm.
I think it's another car length more with a drain adjacent to
Yeah.
that as well for any runoff.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
It's definitely going to be an enhancement to the property, and make it a little more resilient at the same time. But I think this definitely meets the standards for the Wetland Protection Act and any city ordinances as well.
Thank you.
And at this time, I'll call for a motion to approve the extension of driveway and resurfacing.
I'll make a motion to approve the extension of the driveway and resurfacing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, all right. This hearing is closed, and you'll get some paperwork from us with some orders of conditions to make sure that everything is done properly, and we will be in touch, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Next up is a request for determination of applicability, Irving Oils Terminals Incorporated. This is, do we have a file number for this one? Oh, it's a request. I'm not even thinking. Huh. Excellent. How you doing?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andy Robinson with Arcadis. I'm here on behalf of Irving Oil Terminals. Also here with Jim Hollinger of Irving.
How you doing?
This is our first time before the commission. And so we're requesting a determination of applicability for a project on adjacent to 40 Burbank Highway. I just want to get everyone orientated with where we're looking. The project basically is routine inspection of underground pipelines. And essentially what Irving needs to do is daylight those pipelines. And it's essentially a shallow excavation project in two localized areas. So, so basically,
Yeah, bring it right over. Yeah, there you go. Pulling a fast one on us.
if you can see that.
It'll be, we should be able to get it up on the camera. There we go. Back it up just a little bit. So while he gets set up, basically they're going to excavate the pipes. They have a planned laydown area for what they excavate out, and they will be putting it right back. They'll have erosion controls in place, probably, I'm assuming. I can't speak to that just yet, but you did send some photos over of where you're going to be doing the soil put down or lay down, and we want to make sure there's no leaks in this area, so it's definitely mandatory work at this point, but that they won't be making any impact. I can't remember the exact depth. What was it, 2.5 feet or 3 feet?
If you put it on the other side of the podium, the camera will be able to see it better. If you move it further.
Literally on the other side, yeah, right there.
We can all see it too. How's that?
Perfect, and then we can see it up on the camera. Thank you.
Yeah, so the excavation is going to be about roughly 4.5 to 5 feet.
Okay,
So
Little up.
basically, this is Burbank Highway here. Irving Terminals owns property on the eastern side of the highway, and then also on this western side. We're working adjacent, essentially in the upland area adjacent to this pier location. And you can see the white pipeline that's daylighted at, along the pier comes across this MBTA property and then traverses up towards the Irving Terminal. So the area that we want to dig in it specifically is the area, is two locations shown in red here, a little bigger here. This is approximately 30 feet in width, and this excavation's 30 by 14, I believe, and then this one is 30 by 4 feet. So,
So the ones that are on the outside are the where you'll be excavating, correct?
correct,
Okay.
yeah.
And what are you using for erosion controls on the pier side? Because it's pretty close over there, or it's not that close, but you still have the train tracks and whatnot involved in that.
Right, we would be excavating essentially right adjacent to those former railroad,
Okay, and that's about,
which still has some ties there.
yeah, and it's definitely arduous work as once you get closer to the pipe, so it won't be as if you'll be using an excavator to throw it all around. It's going to be time-consuming to get around it, but from what I perceive from the project, the way you explained it during our site visit. So I'm pretty comfortable with this, but at this time, I'd like to ask any of the commissioners if they have any questions.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. One simple question. It's not going anywhere near the Lee Burbank Highway. It's all on the Irving property on the
Correct, the
on the
actual,
water side.
the actual dig is on MBTA property, and then we're gonna be staging soils temporarily on the Irving property.
And the other question, these pipes are taking material from where to where?
It's coming from tanker, from the pier, offloaded through the pipeline, and then back up onto Irving property.
You know, I seem to recall a few years back that you came before us I think you were shored up the bulkheads and the pier that Irving has. Wasn't that so a few years ago? That came before us for that?
I don't remember that.
It's possible, I have no knowledge of that, though.
Well, like, I've been on for a long time, so. And I thought if it had something to do with
I know
that project.
there was a request for determination for the adjacent property. Global had release of oil, and then, okay. I'm familiar with that one, though. Okay.
Anything else? No? Okay. Now, seeing as how you'll have plenty of space between you or your dig site and the pier, plenty of space there. There's probably, 12 feet or so, plus the train tracks, and I don't think that it's going to impact that resource area, and I would call for a negative determination of applicability so that they can do their work and inspect those pipes. Make sure we're not calling the DEP for something else. Motion to call for a negative determination.
I'll make a motion to call for a negative motion of applicability.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll get something over to you soon, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, another RDA, this one is Bennington Street, the Mass DOT, the Highway Division, is repaving along a pretty sizable amount, but they're installing bike lanes, a multi-directional bike lane. I believe it's on the south side or north side, I can't remember, and then they're putting another single lane on the other side. But this is a project that spans from Boston to Revere, and do we have representatives to speak on its behalf? Excellent, thank you very much. I think they're joining us via Zoom.
Yes, good evening. This is Alyssa Jacobs with Epsilon Associates. We're the environmental consultant for Mass DOT Highway on this project.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm here with Kylie, also joining from Mass DOT Environmental Services Group. As you noted, we are here tonight to discuss the Bennington Street Improvements Project and the Revere portion. I don't know, I did prepare a PDF, a slide deck, so hopefully you guys have that visible. at the hearing room. The project is located on Bennington Street. It extends from the Boston Revere, thank you, municipal boundary, north to Winthrop Avenue. And we also filed an RDA with Boston Conservation for the portion of work within Boston, which it extends southward to just past Leverett Avenue in Boston. So it's about 2,500 linear feet of work in total along Bennington Street. And Bennington Street serves as an important connection from East Boston to Revere. Give it the next. So the proposed work activities, we're going. So this slide shows the existing cross section, which has 2 travel lanes in each direction, parking on each side, as well as a grassy strip or grass buffer separating the sidewalk from the roadway. Based on some traffic studies that were done, vehicular speed and safety are factors, and this section of roadway is also does not contain any separate bicycle facilities, and it creates a gap in the existing bicycle network. Next slide, please. So the proposed work activities are designed to modify the cross section of the roadway. It is a curb-to-curb project, so there's no work outside the existing roadway limits. It'll be milling and paving of the roadway, creation of a separated bike lane along the east side of the roadway, and this will be a dual direction bike lane. There'll be a reduction of travel lanes from 4 lanes to 2 with a creation of a shared center turn lane. The parking will be limited to the west side of the roadway, and there'll be installation of signage, roadway markings, and stanchions for lane separation. Best management practices to be implemented during construction to protect the adjoining resource areas include silt sacks in the catch basins and other erosion and sediment controls that may be determined to be necessary. So as you can see at the bottom is the new proposed cross section, maintaining the sidewalk and grass buffer with parking now just on one side of the roadway. The resource areas that the work is proposed in are primarily the buffer zone to Bank and BDW, as well as the 100-year coastal floodplain. As I noted, all work is being conducted within the existing roadway footprint, and we don't anticipate any adverse impacts to resource areas. So there'll be no change in floodplain elevation within the roadway. And that is really the project in a nutshell. The portions of the project within the buffer zone are technically exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act, but as we are predominantly also inland subject to coastal storm flowage, those are not so exempt. So we're here to request a negative determination that we do not need to file an RDA and that there will not be any impacts to resource areas.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I had a chance to walk this down, and it was definitely something that is not going to make a huge impact to the adjacent resource areas. And with land subject to coastal storm flowage not really having a standard, it's best practices. They definitely will be having erosion controls, silt socks, catch basins all along the milling area and the work that is going to be done. And I would call, if you have no more questions about adding this bike path.
I have a question. I was listening to her. I might have misunderstood. I thought I heard her say Leverett Ave. Is that in the beginning when you were making?
No, I don't think so.
Yes, that is to where it extends southward in Boston, the city of Boston.
That's where it starts for the city of Revere.
Leverett with an L?
Correct.
Because there's a Leverett, I got confused. There's a Leverett.
Yeah, there's
Near
one
the waterway.
with it, Everett. Yeah.
All right, okay.
And does this end at Winthrop Avenue? Is that what you were saying with us?
Yes.
Right, would be right at the beginning of Winthrop Avenue or right at the end of it? Like the
I'm not
East
really
Boston side or the Winthrop side?
Right at the intersection where Bennington hits Winthrop.
Yep, go ahead. And then-
Alyssa, I can expand. Hi, Maddie DeClerc, I'm with MassDOT. I'm project manager for this particular project. We're coordinating with through MassDOT permits with the big intersection project at Winthrop Ave. So depending on kind of whoever comes through first, we'll be coordinating with that intersection work.
So near the Dunkin' Donuts, like that area that's the side that you're talking about where it would end right
We're staying
there?
on the south side.
Got it, okay, all right, just confirming.
Yep,
Thank
So-
you.
thank you.
My question would be, are you going to keep the bike lanes 2 lanes all the way up to the intersection on that side? So you're going to have two going towards the south side. Is that going to continue all the way to the intersection?
No,
Is that going to end somewhere near the school for the bus lanes, or how is that going to work?
yeah, do we have, Alyssa, do you have the plans?
Yes.
Okay.
Go look at that right now.
Yep, so essentially, there'll be, it's a two-way up until Everard, I believe.
Okay,
And that's where, based on the project at Winthrop Ave, we can't necessarily keep it two-way all the way to Winthrop Ave yet. In that project, we have to coordinate the signals to get the bikes to come southbound and cross over onto the east side, if that makes sense.
that does.
Okay.
I was just curious how you're going to handle traffic patterns moving down towards the Winthrop Ave, which is extremely busy, as you
Yeah.
very well know.
Yeah, understood.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other questions?
No, just with the repaving, I'm sure you're gonna use the best practices, just to make sure none of that material goes when it rains with heavy rain, so just to make sure the catch basin is protected, so we don't allow any of that material asphalt going there during the work. That's what I have to add, yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah, silt sacks.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? No? All right. Well, thank you very much for your time and for the site visits. At this time, I'd like to call for a negative determination of applicability.
I'll make a motion for negative determination of applicability.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Next up is a notice of intent. We don't have a DEP file number as of yet, but this is for 630 Revere Beach Boulevard. This is a single-family addition. I believe Rick is going to save the day. No, just kidding. How have you been, sir? So this is for a proposed extension to the house, driveway, or a garage with deck and a few other modifications, but I'll let Rick explain it in a little more detail.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Rick Salvo with Engineering Alliance. Here this evening on behalf of Marsha Lucinta, who's the property owner at 630 Revere Beach Boulevard. You might recall this project was before you back, I think, in 2021 under DEP file number 61777 to do some grading in the backyard. They installed a patio back here, and there was an infiltration trench and trench drain installed to mitigate water runoff that comes off of the asphalt driveway, goes into the trench drain located right over here, and into that infiltration trench. That received a certificate of compliance back in 2022, and now they're looking to make some more improvements to their house. Again, it's a single-family dwelling, so relative to the stormwater regulations, it's exempt from the stormwater regulations. It includes the construction of about a 544 square foot garage, That will be constructed at grade at about elevation 7.6. It also includes the construction of a mudroom an office, which is 253 square feet. That will be elevated up off the ground at the first floor level. It'll be supported on wooden columns, so it'll have virtually no impact to the floodplain. And also a mudroom on the opposite side of the house, about 100 square feet, 99.8 square feet. That too will be located at the first floor elevation, supported on wooden columns. And then there'll be a ramp constructed out of that mudroom to get out to the front of the house to provide handicap access into the dwelling. You notice everything is pretty tight to the property line.
Yeah.
This did go before the Board of Appeals last month and received unanimous approval for a zoning variance. The major condition that came out of that was the installation of a privacy fence, 6-foot privacy fence, along the property, along the northerly property line that's been shown on these plans as well.
Is that going to be a shared fence, or is it going to be on one person's property or the other person's property? Just curious, because it is very tight over there. Right?
It'll be just on our side of the property line. At some points, it might be straddling the property line, but it'll be mainly on our property line. The resource areas present here are land subject to coastal storm flowage. Elevation 11, that is right here. So the front portion of the site is outside of the floodplain. The whole rear portion of the site is within the 100-year floodplain. There's also a salt marsh located off-site behind our property. So the garage addition will be within that 100-foot buffer zone associated with the salt marsh. The proposed garage is going to be built largely over an area that's already an existing cement concrete pad, so there's a very minimal increase in impervious surfaces there. It's already a concrete pad, so there isn't much change there. However, because the elevation of that will be below the floodplain, we will be providing flow-through foundations, 3 openings that are 8 inches high by 32 inches wide, which will exceed the building code and the FEMA requirement for 1 square inch of opening per square foot of enclosure within 1 foot of grade. The site will be surrounded by straw wattles during construction for temporary erosion control measures. Make sure none of the fines make their way down into the salt marsh. And that's essentially the proposal before you. So I guess with that, I turn it back to the commission for any questions or comments. Again, we don't have a file number yet, so we expect that this will be continued until next month, and hopefully within the coming weeks we'll get the filing number and be able to move forward next month.
No, that's unfortunate that we don't have a file number, but understandable. These things do happen. I like that it has ample flow-through foundation because it's below grade. The office, I didn't realize it was going to be on stilts or pilings.
Yeah,
That's another nice addition to be able to flow through. My question about the ramp on the right side of the property, how are you going to be stabilizing that throughout the course of the ramp?
What do you mean?
Like, what are you going to use for foundations for that to?
It'll be a cement concrete ramp, I believe. I think that was talked about during the ZBA.
Is
It'll be
the
concrete.
whole ramp is going to be
Will
concrete?
be concrete, that's right.
And there's enough, I just question that is going to create runoff to the neighbor.
No, because it's all pitched. It's a ramp, right? So it's all
So it'll be
pitched.
pitched to the middle to
Yeah,
throw
it's
it
all
off.
pitched parallel to the property line, not perpendicular to the property line.
Okay, all right, that makes a lot more sense. I just couldn't visualize it at first. What else? That's pretty much it on my end of things. I did see a very large area where you had all that crushed stone laid down, which is, I can't remember how deep that was. I don't know if they had that information at the time.
I think it was 16 inches? Yeah, 2 feet by 16
There's
inches.
a lot of place for water to
Yep.
go as well. Excellent. Okay, I don't have any more questions. I turn this to the commission for any questions. Joe?
Hi, Rick, what's the width of the handicap ramp?
4.3 feet. So by code, it's got to be 4 feet. It's 4.3 feet.
And using the cement pad, because I was at the site, using that cement pad as a reference point, Is the new pad going to be laid on top of that, incorporated? Is the old pad going to be dug out?
I think the new pad would be incorporated.
Can I assume it's going to be a little higher than that pad that's there now?
Yeah, it'll just be doweled into it.
Can you give me an idea of elevation?
Well, it's got you're talking the pad coming out of the mudroom?
There was a cement, I think you have it up there.
Oh, you're
This
talking
is-
about the pad in the back for the garage?
Yes, yes.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about something different. No, so that cement pad will likely be removed completely because there's no footings underneath that, so there'll have to be a frost wall that will support the garage, and then it'll be poured back in place.
So
At
could
the
I,
same
could I?
exact elevation, no difference in elevation.
That was my question. I'm using that as a gauge
Yep, same
to,
elevation.
to kind of visualize the new pad.
Yep, new pad will be at the same exact elevation, it's at elevation 7.6.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, any questions from the audience? Okay, I did not open a proper hearing for this, so let me open up the hearing and not scare Linda with this gavel again. Thank you for making your presentation, though. And unfortunately, we're gonna have to continue this to next month, and we can begin work at such time, or when we get an approval for it. But thank you very much for coming before us and presenting this project to us.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. Okay. Next up is a request for extension. We're going to put all three of these together. This is for DEP file number 0610773, 0610772, and 0610771. This is the McClellan Highway Development Company, and this is to extend their order of conditions for another 3 years?
Yes,
from
that's
reading
correct.
it? Excellent. This is the Suffolk Downs project.
Hi, good evening, Abigail. Sorry, my voice. Good evening, Abigail Middleton with HYM Investments on behalf of McClellan Highway Development Corporation. Happy to answer any questions you might have, but this is a 3-year extension request for 3 zones within the Suffolk Downs property. One is called Phase 1 RE, which is the infrastructure and roadway improvement area on the Revere side, the R10 parcel and the R11 parcel. And we are, as you suggested, requesting an extension for 3 years to allow us to continue to do the improvements in that area. Happy to answer any questions.
Through the chair, when was the original order of conditions given? What date?
3 years ago, I'll defer to Stacy and MK, they can give you the exact date, but it was 3 years ago, I think mid-October. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was done sooner than that, and I thought it was sooner than that, and I was wondering why you need an extension already, but
No.
if it's been 3 years,
Yes.
that's the limit anyway.
Yeah, it was October 2021. It has been 3 years. We've been before the commission more recently for other orders, but these ones,
She said it was October 20th, and she said we've been here before for other orders of conditions,
Yeah,
it's just
we-
these ones particularly.
When the floodplain changed and a few other
Exactly,
things.
so the floodplain has changed, so these areas are significantly out of the floodplain by orders of magnitude. So the Phase 1 RE had roughly 1.5 million square feet in the floodplain, now we're closer to 19,000 square feet. And for R10 and R11, we're actually out of the floodplain, but we are within the buffer zone, which is why it's still under your jurisdiction.
Thank you. I won't make you talk too much tonight, but thank you for
Sure.
that. So I had a chance to walk this down, and thank you for sending the pictures over of the erosion controls. The property is a little overgrown, so it makes it difficult seeing those things, but they are there. I just had some concerns about the asphalt in that rubble pile when we were walking around. But, for the folks that did walk it, it's not completed. There are 3 large places for residential buildings to go, plus a laboratory building if the need is for it. But there's also going to be some other very nice additions with the completion of this project. Nice park, which is more or less an amphitheater, and it will have all sorts of benefits for not just the people that inhabit that property, but the folks that live in the adjacent community. And I would call for an extension of this order of conditions to complete this project.
Chair, I would just ask one thing. So, asking for the extension of the 3 years, I'm just worried that in 3 years, we're gonna ask for another extension and then another extension. Just, as someone who lives in Ward 1, and this is right down the street from me, and I've driven by it 10,000 times, and we've seen one building of Amaya, and I'm wondering the dream that was promised by HYM of what that's gonna be. I'm just very, very nervous as someone who knows my property values are gonna soar positively with that being not a vacant land, but being actual stuff like parks and these things. I'm just very nervous about giving a 3-year extension when in reality those 3 years could get blown by and then it's another 3 years, another 3 years. Is there anything that can be done so that this just doesn't take, because I know this is a 20-year project, and I understand that, because this is like, 2.5 times the size of Assembly Row. But, I just keep reading constantly stories about how this building's not getting done, and this thing's not getting done, and I'm just very worried that this is going to end up just being a plot of land that is a story for the end of time of what happened at Suffolk Downs. And I just don't want to be able to say that I put my thumbnail down on approving another 3 years of this being basically just a cemetery at this point.
Well, if I may, I don't believe you were at the site visit. We did talk a little bit about this. So the Phase 1 RE extension includes the roadways, the extension of Salt Street, the extension of Suffolk Downs Boulevard, and in particular, the amphitheater that we're talking about. That has actually gone out to bid now, and we're planning to award that contract in the next 2 weeks or so, and then the work will start this spring. So the intent here is to get the infrastructure ready to go so that the parcels of R10 and R11 are ready to go. So it'll be the continuation of, as I said, the roadways, sidewalks, street trees, street lights, this amphitheater that serves also as part of our stormwater resiliency package. So that's legitimately ready to go.
Sure. So my follow-up to that is, then why do you need 3 years for this?
It just gives us the flexibility and timing. If you prefer to do 1 year, that's fine. It's just, we just figured it's simple to come once and just let us keep going. I don't think the
It
work.
would cause them to keep coming back if they had supply chain
But just
issues.
my question to the board would be, this is one of those gigantic projects that, I mean, this would be one thing if this was just a single-family home and they need 3 years of flexibility, whatever. But with this being such a massive project, wouldn't we want a year from now to be able to have these conversations again?
From what I understand from what you're saying, that this is more of, we need an extension to put the infrastructure down so that we are able to make that next leap to put a building up. They need to lay the groundwork before they can actually put the building up, and that's why I think they're asking for an extension on the property from the way I understand
So
it.
the Phase 1 RE is the roadways that serve R10 and R11 parcels. Excuse me. So in order to build those buildings, we have to bring, so everything out there, as you can imagine, there's nothing out there because it was the racetrack. All new gas, water, electricity, telecom,
they have to-
street lights, so we literally need to, that's part, this.
Building a whole city, I understand.
Yeah, so the
Yes.
sequencing here is we need
That's
to do the
exactly
Phase
why.
1 RE work, which, as I said, the package we're getting ready to bid and start the work this spring.
Sure.
Then after that, that allows you to build the R10 and R11 parcel. It's a lot of work. As you saw, once we started on the Phase 1R, it's been 3 years, right, since when we started these permits. So we just are trying to have the flexibility so that we can do the Phase 1 RE work now, get the parcels R10 and 11 ready to go for the vertical development, and that, it just takes time.
Sure, I understand that, and I'm all for that. I want this project done. My only hesitancy that I say on this is the length of time. So if, 3 years is a while, and I know that for this, I would say if, they said 1, they're 3, what if it was 2 years, so that way at least if in 2 years we can have that conversation and say, hey, why wasn't,
I think I get the gist of what you're saying. And I think that making them come more often only delays the process even further.
That's fair.
I think-
Just wanted to bring
I
it
think-
to the attention.
I think that to expedite your ability and give you flexibility in this situation, giving you 3 years is, in my opinion, something that you would need to be able to complete this project. Not just the infrastructure that you need to lay down beforehand, but also get the buildings up themselves, which are pretty intricate, and with all of the regulations in that area, we have certain things that we need to make sure happen in a timely fashion and in the correct order. So having them come up more than once is why I would say the 3 years makes sense.
Mr. Chair, another question. Now that I think about it after what was just mentioned, what happened to your original schedule that made you need this extension? You know, when you originally made a schedule, this would have been already started and done.
I wasn't, to be candid, I was not with HOM at the time, so I don't know what the original schedule was, but market conditions certainly have changed, right? And COVID happened, which is the big thing, right? We got our permitting in 2019 was when we got our permitings right in COVID. So that completely changed the entire world. So that delayed everything. When I started at HYM, it was 2022. And that's when we started working in earnest, which was just right after the COVID pandemic sort of really subsided.
Any other questions?
No, just thinking what Brian said, I think that's fair what he's saying, because if you give it 3 years, people are going to start thinking, okay, we have time. But if you give 1 year, people will, okay, let's pick up the pace. I understand your point as well. You don't want to be coming back because that's slow down your process, but it makes me worry. After listening to him, it makes me worry as well. So I think 3 years is a long time. I know you need it, but at the same time, when we give this amount of time, it tend to relax. If you tell you a year, maybe people will move up a little bit. So just wanted to add that.
Fair point. I will just reiterate that our objective is to go as fast as possible. We'd like to get it done. We want new people. We already have 117 leases at Amaya. We just opened in June. We want people living there. We want people coming there, enjoying the retail. We want to have the streets open. So our objective is to go as fast as possible. It's a fair point. I just don't. It's not something. We're not intentionally slowing down because we have a 3-year permit.
Right. And Abby, if I could just
go ahead.
Jump in as well quickly to reiterate, I think it is the feasibility as well as the timing, right? So all of that work will be able to be done within the year period that we're discussing, hence the 3 years.
And the other part, I think I'd say to Cece is also some of it's not our work. We're relying on NGrid. We're relying on on NGrid, on the various utility companies too, to help us do the main gas connection, et cetera. So some of these things just aren't in our control and they take longer than anybody would like, unfortunately. But on a large scale development project like this, it's just the nature of the beast.
Thank you for the clarification on that. I just, obviously we read the things in the news and someone who yet again lives down the street in Ward 1, it's just, I have to ask these questions. But I do appreciate your honesty and your responses.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Any questions from the audience? No? Okay. So I put it to the commission, a little discussion. It's at our discretion at this time to give either 1 or 3 years. And they're asking for 3, and I know that's a lot, but putting down the infrastructure and putting up 2 buildings, as you said, it will probably take somewhere in the vicinity of a year and a half.
To do all 3 would take more than 3 years.
But the permitting for certain utilities can take even longer sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
So I would say, this is just my opinion, that it would be prudent to give you 3 years to be able to handle the permitting process for the utilities and getting the bids out for the infrastructure. I don't think they'd be laying infrastructure if they weren't planning on building 2 very large buildings to house quite a bit of residents and also add additional commerce to our city. Any other questions? Okay, so I'd like to call for a motion to grant them their extension for the work to be completed at Suffolk Downs. Motion.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Bernardo?
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it.
Thank you, I
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, next up is an emergency certification, Winthrop Parkway. This is a railing repair, and this was supposed to be on our agenda last month. And the work, from what I understand, has been completed. If you wouldn't mind, Loretta, showing a picture of the completed rail. And this is an administrative action for the commission to approve. We're approving after the fact in this case.
Nick, sorry, do you mind having 344 Salem Street COC go on?
That's completely fine. We'll jump to the next item before we approve that. This is for a certificate of compliance, DEP file number 0610791. This is for construction at 344 Salem Street.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for the record, Rick Salvo with Engineering Alliance, here this evening on behalf of Zapage Development, requesting a certificate of compliance, DEP file number 61-0791. There was, you might recall, is for the construction of a 24-unit multifamily dwelling, podium-style construction. This replaced an existing garage and kind of asphalt area and hard pan parking area in the rear. Included the building, subsurface infiltration facility adjacent to Clifton Street, utility connections, and incidental grading. The project's been completed, landscaping has been installed, the site's stable and is, I would say, more than 75% vegetated at this point in the game. I know the commission was able to have a site visit last Saturday. Unfortunately, I was out of town, I wasn't able to be there, but happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I don't have any questions. Do any of the other commissioners have questions about this property? So this property definitely had a lot of improvements. It was quite the mess that you inherited from there. I don't envy you for having to take out a hydraulic lift on top of everything else that was on that property. I can't even imagine what you've had to abate on that property. I did like that the wetlands that are adjacent on the left side of the property as you're facing, that was all cleaned out, looked really nice, Rick. The back on the other side where we had an intermittent wetland in the back there, I can't remember exactly how far back and what elevation it was, but that was all cleaned out as well. There were quite a number of tires, asphalt, concrete pieces. It looked like a little dumping ground for a very long time back there. And the rest of the property, dare I say, was the same. So it has been a major improvement. The construction on pilings, for the most part, is giving it a good flow through as well. And considering the landscaping and property improvements that you've made on this, I would have no problem issuing a certificate of compliance. I'd like to hear the thoughts of any of our other commissioners at this time, if you have anything to add. Nope? Okay. Anything from the audience about this? At this time, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 344 Salem Street.
I'll make a motion for the certificate of compliance.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. We'll be in touch, Rick. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Next up, we'll go back to the, are you ready for the emergency certification? Excellent. So this was sent out to notify that we needed to make repairs in an emergency situation. To follow up, it was stairs that were, I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was completely,
It was a staircase railing that detached by one of the access points on Winthrop
Short Beach?
Parkway. Yeah, Short Beach.
Yeah, it's on Short Beach. Excuse me. And as you can see, it was pretty extensive. The railings were definitely all over the place. And then if you can cut through to the actual repairs with it in place,
Yeah, we got notified by ACOM that the work had been completed on September 24th.
I believe so, yes.
It was just one of those access points, and I don't have the image in front of me, but it's on the Revere Conservation Commission.
I do recall
email
seeing
thread.
it, and I'm sure most of you as well saw this, and I would call for, seeing as how the work is done, the permit is in and filed, and for us to just approve the emergency certification. So I would call for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the emergency certification.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Aye.
All right, we'll have to sign off on that. We did have some enforcement this meeting, but I don't know if anybody is here to present for it at this time. So we'll have to continue that till next meeting. We did have, was it 24 Neponset Street? They were putting place in down in a floodplain. And then we had another, it was 12 Pearl Ave, was a concrete wall that was put up adjacent to areas of environmental or critical environmental concern. They were also in the floodplain as well. But we'll get to that next meeting. At this time, I'd like to open it up for any discussion. And the first topic would definitely be to attend the MACC Fall Conference this October 19th. It'll be good for our new commissioners, as well as just refreshing and bringing up things that we've already covered or things that you might be a little unfamiliar with. It's a good opportunity to be able to sharpen your skills, so to speak. So I encourage both of our new members to attend, and some of our other commissioners, maybe you might find something useful out of it. There are all sorts of things that you can be exposed to, as well as a good networking opportunity to other conservation commissioners that are going through exactly what we are. So I put that out to all of you. Any other discussion?
Chair, I would just like to bring up one topic. Just for the future, for the planning of the dates for these meetings, I would just ask in the future to look at high holidays. Tonight is Rosh Hashanah, which is a very high holiday for those that are Jewish, like myself. So normally I wouldn't attend these meetings on these kind of nights. I did, however, tonight because it was an important meeting. But I would just ask in the future for, not just for those that are Jewish, but for other religions, if we can just make sure if they happen to fall randomly on a Wednesday, that we could just change that just for the future.
That's an excellent point, and I appreciate you bringing it up, Brian. Thank you very much, and I apologize for us having a meeting on this day for you. We'll refine it a little bit more, but thank you all for coming. If we don't have anything else, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.
I suggest we have one of the new members to do it.
Go ahead, you take it. Go ahead, Amelia.
Calling for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you very much.